Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Shelley Hill. I'm a pre-sales technical consultant at Identity Experts, and today we are joined by Harold G., the CEO and co-founder of ITEXACT. Now, today, Harold is going to be showing us how ITEXACT can provide visibility over IT usage and expenditure, and how it can be used to bring departments together and benefit the whole organization. Before we go any further, I'd just like to point out that we have a Q&A section, so feel free to ask any questions and we will answer them at the end. But if you can't see the Q&A section for some reason, do send your questions to us by email instead. You can send them to info@identityexperts.co.uk, and Joe will be on hand to receive and pass those questions on to us. Now, without any further delay, over to you, Harold.
Good afternoon, morning, everyone. My name's Harold Grootedder. I think as Shelley did as well, Harold G for everyone. I don't think there's many people that can pronounce the Grootedder. Maybe the Scots can, and certainly the Dutch and the South Africans can. You'll hear from my accent. I am originally from South Africa, so please excuse me if some of my words aren't quite up to the English standards, as I've just done my English test as well to get residency here. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to ITEXACT. As Shelley said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of ITEXACT. It's a company that's been around since 1993 in various forms, and actually it's two companies, a company called Absolute Systems and ITEXACT that merged some time ago. And we've been over the years, we've been doing a lot of work in consultancy, products, software solutions more particularly in the finance world. So we've got a lot of pedigree in the financial services space, in especially retail banking, cash management, those kind of areas. And on the consulting side, on especially the Microsoft side, we've got various gold accreditations, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is a really innovative product called Surveil that I'm going to be introducing you to. Just a little bit of background because it's relevant to where our companies come from. We did some world firsts, and back in 2011-12, we actually did the world's first large enterprise Office 365 migration. Back then, we spent a lot of late nights working with Microsoft. There's a migration tool called Quest, working with the developers there, all sorts of issues. So we've lived and breathed Office 365 from its inception. And in 2016, we started migrating Azure services back then already as well, when maybe just 3 or 4 services. But back then as well, back in 2017, Microsoft asked us to help Microsoft and SAP certify SAP for Azure. SAP was put into Azure in various forms, but it was never supported by SAP. We did that with one of our clients, a customer called Coates. And actually, if you go and look in the Microsoft /SAP and you go and look at the first use case there to a company called Coates, you'll see me in the video. So we did actually get the product certified along with Microsoft and SAP, and then we also were asked by Microsoft to migrate the very first large-scale SAP instance to Azure, and I'm talking about HANA in particular. Ignoring the details there, we had a lot of pains, through that Office 365 journey as well as through the Azure journey. You've suddenly going from maybe a 50,000 expenditure per year to a $5 million per year expenditure, and all the issues that come with that. IT, of course, extremely keen. They want to get all the new services in there. Finance, the business, everybody really excited, and then suddenly it hits you around the budgets, and when a year later, when these costs are really climbing through the roof. So it's on the back of that we've built a product called Surveil. Now, Surveil has been around since 1993. And I'll talk a little bit through the product in a minute, but what I want to first talk about is what is the issue we're trying to solve here. So the Department Schism, I think we've all lived and breathed this, depending where you sit on the audience, but whether you're in HR, finance, you're within your lines of business, you're in IT, and often quite IT sort of the glue between them, if you want to call it that, at a C level, whether it's the exec, the board, you've all got problems and pointing fingers at each other or trying to support each other, but maybe you have a very different view on the world, So you got HR saying, here's my joiners levers, IT saying, well, I don't think that's your joiners levers, and what about these people? And HR saying, well, we're busy moving on to new systems, and finance is busy putting in internal invoicing into the various departments. The departments or the businesses are saying to them, where's the proper data? I don't believe this is my bill. Can you break it down for me? Can you tell me what production's costing me? Can you tell me what my marketing platform's costing me, or what it's costing me to support these environments in the Ukraine, whatever it might be, however the business wants to cut it. The lines of business are going and saying, I want transparency. I want to see what this is all about. And I also want to know how to improve my business. Give me the tools to improve my business. And the C-levels on the end of that they're all sitting there saying, where's the data? We need to know how the company's moving forward. We need to know how they're collaborating. What can we leverage? Which areas of the business can we leverage? And at the end of the day, this is all data that can be, it's there. It's just maybe not unlocked in the right way. Often all of this comes to IT, and IT gets all these requests from these various departments saying, I want this data, I want that data. They may not be very good at making it look pretty. Sometimes it takes a long time to get that data. They're also extremely busy. So this is the Department Schism, and so we've worked really hard on building a solution that allows us to get out of this, and that solution is in combination with our lovely partners, Identity Experts. And it's that solution that I want to talk through, but I will just talk a little bit in detail about those challenges. And then we can start seeing how do we propose to solve those problems. So in HR, I've mentioned the common problem there is a battle with joiners leavers. Whether it means that HR is busy migrating onto new HR tooling, they may have only, sometimes this HR tooling is very expensive. They may only get into certain parts of the region, parts of the country. Maybe certain offices don't get the new tooling until 2-3 years time, so the data won't be accurate quite yet. You've got leavers that are leaving, and maybe HR, the businesses in those areas, or the manufacturing, the factory out in Poland isn't telling you about somebody that's left, etc., etc. It's a real challenge for everybody. It continues to be a challenge. And actually, if you look at IT users, anybody using a PC or a phone or something, there's a lot of good data there that we can leverage. So we do that. And in that data as well, we can see hierarchy structures, a number of things, but often it's dirty as well. So we'll show you how maybe that problem emanates as well. Within finance, they are struggling with their budget management. They're battling to, how do we allocate these costs out? Do we just do a blended rate out to our either customers or to our internal businesses? Is it cost follows cost? Is all these sort of legacy ways of doing internal billing. At the end of the day, they get accused of not providing transparency. They then go back to IT, and IT says, well, we can't give you these details. It's just going to take too long, to break it all out. And so, finance is sitting in this difficult position as well, where they want to modernize things and help lines of business drive costs down and help the company improve costs and improve adoption. But they can't, because they're tied, because they don't have the right data. If you look at IT, they are being presented with a Azure Office 365 world that's really exciting. They've got an on-prem world at the moment, Azure AD and all of these technologies. Office 365 licensing is changing every day. Azure licensing is complex. There's a lot of resources in there. We've got a real problem just trying to optimize that. We're cut back on resources because we now stuck all our stuff in Azure and Office 365. All our staff have been cut. We just don't have the kind of capability to build all of these lovely reports and things that the businesses and finance and HR, etc. need. So they're also in a really difficult position when it gets to these technologies. Again, exciting technologies, a lot of great benefits out of them, security, GDPR, you name it, but very difficult for IT to properly manage that environment. The lines of business, they want to know, they want to have metadata, they want to know how is this being adopted. They're just very frustrated that they don't understand within their different divisions and departments, how much are people collaborating, how much are they using the technology, does that in any way translate to sales in Salesforce or in Dynamics or something like that. They just don't have that metadata readily available, and when they go and ask IT for the data, they want to know, how much Teams is being used. It takes IT some time to go and find someone to run these scripts. Sometimes these scripts in big companies fail and they have to rerun them. Sometimes they take hours and hours and hours, and they get this ginormous spreadsheet, and they got to try and make that look and feel into a sensible way that these lines of business could understand it. And of course, as I mentioned, this all boils back to the owners of the company, the directors of the company, the executive, and what tooling and metadata do we give them to show just how much, where your investment's going, where else do you need to invest. Are there areas that we can leverage to improve other areas? Where's your risks? So all of these, these are real schisms, real challenges between departments, and quite often, there's a lot of dissatisfaction between these various parties. So let me introduce you to Surveil. So Surveil is a platform. It's a suite of products, as I mentioned, that's been around since 1993. It's got good pedigree in banks. It's white labeled into one of the largest GSIs, systems integrators for financial services in the US. It's been around for some time, and what you see on the screen there is the entire platform. I'm not going to go through that. That's maybe worthy of another session at some stage. But what I'd like to talk you through is a particular new innovative module called SLIM. So it's our SLIM module. It is primarily around cost management, but it includes security, licensing, identity management across Azure, Office 365, and I'll just expose you a little bit to the pieces that we're bringing in from on-prem as well. It is offered as a full standalone service. It's a SaaS service. Identity experts will help you get onto that service, and there are easy ways to do an initial health check, things like that. I'll talk a little bit through that as we go through. I'm not going to show you the live tool. There's so much to go through in it. So I've taken relevant and pertinent screenshots. But again, any follow-on sessions, no issue whatsoever, and we can actually go through the tool and show you this in a more live way. So what does it look like if we want to close these gaps that we have with Surveil? And let me just take you through the journey and just show you in the different areas how we can help. So let's start with HR. Let's give them a real clear view of their joiners leavers. Let's expose them to a user out there that we know has not used anything for the last 30 days plus. And when I say anything, we go a level beyond what Microsoft provides you. So you've got some traditional Microsoft reporting. It will tell you about Teams, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Yammer. If they say that a user is inactive, it's inactive in using those products, right? It doesn't tell you if they're inactive because they haven't logged in. Maybe they're working in a factory and they're using just their PC to connect to a machine and update some spreadsheets. There may be different reasons why people in IT are using this. So we'll go into that level of detail. We'll see if this person or this account has actually done any web browsing, lots of other behaviors that we stick into our AI engine. And the net result, when we tell you there's a joiner leaver, it's an accurate view. So it's a lot more data, and HR can log into the tool. They can go and see the joiners leavers. They don't need IT to show them, or they can just look at the analytics. Two ways to expose it to them, and I'll talk a little bit through that when you see the example. But we also tell you details about the staff in the company. You know, their job titles, the departments they're in, the countries they last logged in, not the countries that they were put into in the tool, because sometimes IT gets that wrong, or people move countries, etc., etc. Actually, the locations where they've last been using the products, and that just helps them to improve their whole joiners, movers, leavers process. It's live. And what I'm going to show you is just how we have our own AI tagging engine where we can go and clean up AD as well and present you with a real nice clean view, the way that businesses, the company, HR, finance, everybody likes to see it. And last but not least, you know, HR then has the capability to do the stuff themselves. They have a lot of dashboards they can go through. They have a lot of analytics reports, depending what's relevant to them, to go through. Access control is there in the tool, of course. We do multi-roles, multi-tenant, multi-user, and you can go and set exactly who's got access to see what. So let me take you into some examples of this. The example on the left is a joiners leavers process analytics screen. The example on the right is a dashboard view. So within the tool, if I can just introduce that concept, we have dashboards, which are live dashboards, and then we have analytics capability. Our analytics is all based around Power BI embedded. So it's a new release of Power BI that Microsoft has that allows us to embed code inside the actual reporting structures and that. It is one of the world leading reporting tools. And it certainly allows us to do everything we need to do and at scale. So the dashboards on the right is probably more an area for, you know, IT administrators, people that actually want to go and dig deeper quickly, and maybe also do some things, do some administration tasks. Is this really a joiner lever? Is this really somebody who's non-active, hasn't used anything? Let me go and have a look. Let me dig deeper. Let me go and have a look at what they connected on the internet. Let's see what devices they've been working on. Have they got a mobile phone? Have they been using licenses? And when we talk about using licenses, we don't talk just about SharePoint and the traditional ones that Microsoft reports around, SharePoint, Exchange, Yammer, Teams, Skype. We talk about just about all of the license components within an E1, E3, EMS E3, EMS E5, and M365. We break those down and show you usage and utilization around all of those areas, not just in the initial SKUs. So the right-hand side again gives them confidence, gives them information very quickly. It's not a, it's instant almost when you're clicking on these users. You're getting a lot of information at your fingertips. You can go and make decisions. And if you have the help desk module, you can even go and remove licenses. So HR in theory could remove licenses from there, but you would probably give that to your help desk to do. So another area is just, this is just sort of a screen that they're going to on the analytics side, and they've got different kind of identity health overviews they can go to. Again, this isn't just for HR, anybody could use it for that matter, and it does interlink. And again, it gets rid of that schism. We're all looking at the same data. It avoids people getting into, well, we think there's 100 leavers last month. Well, we sent you 130, those kind of discussions. We're all looking at very similar data. And you can go and select any one of these, and you'll find this across the tool set. You've got menus that go in there, whether it's in C-level, license optimization, financials, in this case, identity, AD. You've got menus you can go through to go and get that data. So if you clicked on one of these, for example, the accounts view, cost view probably more for the financial person. They want to see costs by department or by job title, whatever. You may want to be more interested in HR about an accounts view. You get the screen here. So this is just an example one where we're using our tagging engine to clean up the data. So what the three windows you see over there is an AD view. We suck that out automatically. And, typically you've got in AD, people put company A Pty Limited, company A Pty Limited UK, company A Pty Limited US, company A, just company A. And everyone's got a different version of the way that they put this into the systems. Even when IT does it, maybe they lock the users out and don't allow them to change these kinds of fields in Active Directory. Even then, the IT people tend to, maybe they're not updating it, maybe they haven't been told that people have moved departments, countries, regions, functions, and etc. So what we do is we give you an engine that you can go and clean this data up. And what you see on the left-hand side is the cleaned up version of the right-hand data. And this could be cleaned up in any way. So maybe you want a line of business that's cleaned up and your CEO's got 12 direct reports, and we can create you 12 lines of business and put everybody that's relevant underneath there. And we have an engine that allows us to do that in some clever ways, whether it be by location, by behaviors, by activity, by country, by titles, etc. You may, for example, have lines of business view, but you want to know functionally what your company is doing. It allows you to really get a better understanding. Tell me, I'm looking at outsourcing finance in the company. Tell me how many people are doing finance, not how many people have got, that I've been told they've got, but how many people do you think as a tool is doing finance? And we'll go and put some clever little searches in there and go and find out for you just how many we think are doing finance. And when you click through them, you can go and see and verify whether you think that's correct or not. And the screen on the right is again the operational dashboard, where you're immediately seeing your list of users. You're getting those little icons that you see over there. They allow you to go in and select various tabs. And search the same things, and you've got the little minus buttons. If you've got a help desk, then they could go in and remove the licenses there and then, and it'll ask them as well if they've got group memberships, remove from the group memberships, etc. So administratively as well, you could have a help desk going in, very secure, because the only access rights to Office 365 there is to remove a license. Even if it's got hacked, incidentally, it uses your Microsoft credentials, it doesn't use ours, so it's completely security is completely in control from your side. That's the HR side. If I go into finance, they want to have visible costs. They want to be able to customize it. I've spoken a little bit through around how we do that from an AD point of view. But instead of maybe having it by direct report lines from a finance point of view, they may want to do it by regions, by countries, by cost codes. And they want to get that one view across Azure, Office 365, and in second quarter this year, you'll also be able to bring your on-prem resources automatically in and put costs and against them as well, people, PCs, software. So we have that in beta at the moment. So what we've got here is an Azure view. Anybody who's seen an Azure bill, that's it on the left, right? This customer that we migrated their SAP environment, that bill was around about 200,000 lines a month. And that's what Microsoft gives you. Really difficult to make head or tail of that. What of that is my SAP? What is the SAP development world? What is the reporting side? What is my marketing platform? What is my e-commerce platform? So again, we put the engine and the tagging capability. This is not into Azure. This is our own tagging capability. So you can play, you can move things around, you can check things. And at the end, if you think it's really clean and you like it, you push the button and it pushes it back to Azure for you. But you do it all contained within the service. On every one of these dashboards, we give you recommendations. So whether it's in Azure or in Office 365, you see the bottom area there. There's 11 rules in Azure, around about 28 rules in Office 365 and growing every day, where we will tell you how you can save money, abandoned disks, idle services, idle databases, hybrid benefit, reserved instances, and how much money we estimate you can save. And in the analytics side of that, you can go and, so here, for example, I know the writing's very small, but you could click on Surveil and you can see exactly what resources are being used by Surveil, and you can go and see it by maybe you want to see it by department, or you want to see production, development, and you can see it month on month for the last 12 months. So that's the typical sort of Azure side. And on the Office 365 side, anybody who's had to deal with an EA contract, it's going to be really difficult to find somebody that's in a customer base, and actually even within us gold partner world, it's a real challenge to understand these EA agreements and what they actually mean. So we make that simpler. We give you a view. Here's your EA agreement. It's over 3 years. This is what your commits are. Here you can see there's reservations. We'll automatically pick up reservations that your engineers or IT or whoever's put in place, and we'll tell you also if you've paid some of those through a purchase order, or if you're expecting a true up at the end of the year. It's all flagged in here. So in this case here, there's £3,000 worth of reservations in year 2. Paid for is 3,000 or something like that. So what's left is, okay, in this case, we've paid more than what's due. So we actually got some credit there. So you see these views, and you can see it by financials or quantities on all your licenses. And then in your C-level dashboards, you can roll that up and say, by the way, these are your reservations costs. This is probably unbudgeted. And when you look at this is just a small demo environment. When you look at this across large companies, we see numbers in there that are really scary. Did you know you're getting a $500,000 bill at the end of the year? Just best you know right up front. So and it just gives you some highlight. You can go into all sorts of details on the C-level dashboard. And again, this just gives you that single pane of glass view. Here we're showing actuals by these tags we created, maybe by a SaaS system. What is our ERP system costing us? Or maybe development or manufacturing. This is Office 365. This is Azure. It's all in the same single pane of glass. All of that can be consolidated into single Power BIs. There is an API, so you can link this straight to your Power BI reports as well if you want, or you can integrate into your systems through the API. The right-hand side here just sort of shows you summaries of Azure on the analytics side. This is, let me introduce you a little bit to the way we introduce, especially the Office 365 module, where it's really effective, is through something called a health check. So the onboarding process is really simple. At the moment, it's just a simple little script you run, or there's an instruction just to tell your admin how to just give us access to various APIs. It's a standard way that Microsoft and everybody does it. End of this month, it'll just be literally clicking on the website as you enter. As long as it's an admin going in the first time, it'll ask for permission to access this data, and then you get it. We then leave it running for maybe a week, 10 days, ideally 30 days, but nobody wants to wait that long. And we start building, our AI engine starts to build a view. And this is an example of a customer that we did a health check on. And you can see here there's 3 phases of savings. And the first one will be really simple, i.e. you've got users that are disabled, they can't log in, and they've still got licenses assigned. So that's a real simple one. The second phase might be, you've got some inactive users. So our engine is telling us these 1,300 people are inactive. They're not doing anything, and here's proof. Go and remove those licenses, and that could save you £56,000 a month. This is monthly, by the way. And then the third phase is actually we've got a whole bunch of recommendations, and through our engine, we'll start making recommendations to you saying, for example, you've got an account here that's got an M365 and it's a printer, right? Because IT didn't really have anything else to do to use on that. Or maybe it's somebody purely using Outlook. Maybe it's a contact center staff member and all they need to do is send emails. Do they really need all those features that are sitting in the large queues? So we make recommendations, just simple recommendations around reducing that. There's other levels beyond phase 3. So we give you the analytics and you start seeing a visual of how you could reduce from E5 to E3 or EMS E5 to EMS E3 or different SKUs depending on what you use. So great saves across the board. Same thing in the Azure side as well. And last but not least, this is just showing a screen here. You can see on the left here, any of the kind of financial dashboards and that, you can go and click on your lines of business and go straight in there. So, sorry, just back one. So lines of business, how do they get some value from this? They are the ones that need to drive the change and drive the adoption. So from a lines of business point of view, we start giving you a lot of adoption information based on your lines of business, not what's in AD. We've cleaned that up now, right? We take that clean version. And through your C-level dashboards, you can go and look at various adoption. Some of this detail you wouldn't want to get in as a C-level, but if you wanted to, you could go and click in. You may just want to see the high-level details. But here, for example, I've highlighted teams, and there's the divisions within the company or the lines of business, and we can see consultancy is the biggest user of Teams. So on average, 6.75 Teams meetings per month per user. Is that good or bad? Well, what I do know is that it's better than the development department, and maybe we know that the development department is not performing so well, or marketing has got some battles. Let's go and talk to consultancy and say, how did you get this level of adoption? Or maybe they're using it too much, different decisions. And as the tool grows, our underlying baseline metrics to compare against other users also improves. These metrics are just not available. You don't get them out there today. You want to go and find out what's good for a company in terms of numbers of Teams messages sent per day per user. If they're sending one, is that really good or is that really bad, or where is it in the middle somewhere? So we will present those baseline metrics to you as well. So let me go. Who's the next guys? And this is the guys and girls that really end up often being hammered from all angles, and also the ones that can really provide these insights and this metadata into the company that businesses, finance, HR, etc. would love to get their hands on. So IT, of course. They can go in and they've got various dashboards to work on, more operational dashboards. They can go and click. This just gives you a view here, for example. I've clicked, give me non-active users with licenses assigned, and I can see there's 43 of them. In a big company, typically, we've got a customer, 20,000 users. Typically, that's 2,500 users, 3,000 users, and that's what we see in just about every company we've connected to, large and small. Is a very similar sort of ratio of inactive users with licenses assigned. And you just click the minus button. If you've got the help desk module, you can remove the license, or you just hit the little Excel button there, you export it and send it off to IT to go and run a PowerShell script, however they want to do it. It gives you all sorts of details when you click on any of these users, tells you what licenses they're using, what plans they're using, what of those plans are actually actively being used, not just what's been assigned. It'll tell you what groups they belong to. Here it's showing you where licenses have been assigned from, and you can go and actually remove them from those groups and from direct assignments. It'll tell you what devices you're using, mobile devices you're using, etc. So you've got a great level of detail from an IT point of view. Here's showing you, for example, this is all about devices they're using. You can go and click on the devices. This is showing you more details about groups, and you want to see all the members of the groups, what groups are actively used. You want to remove some groups, help clean up your whole group structure in the company. Again, saves is massive for IT, so this gives them views. They can, for example, this one here says, these licenses have not been actively used for 45 days, or this project desktop client's not been activated, or no OneDrive, or Power BI Pro is not being used, whatever the recommendation might be. And in the live view, you can just right click on that, do a drill down, and it'll give you the list of users. Or you can go straight into the dashboards, and for example, accounts that, let's say here, for example, accounts that could be shared mailboxes or removed. So the behaviors we see on that account, we think this could become a shared mailbox, and that costs you nothing, right? That can save you money. So again, you've got a lot of capabilities to go and optimize your environment and continue to optimize it. Give this to the help desk and let them carry on doing this day in, day out. Because if you do it once today, 3 months down the road, it's going to start looking again like it did if you changed nothing. Again, security is a really big piece, and this is of course relevant to everybody, not just IT, but you get some very clever ways here of just very quickly seeing, who are all my administrators, what levels of, how many, have I got too many administrators? This company's got 17 company administrators. Microsoft recommends 2 to 4. Let's go and do something about that. 2 of them haven't got MFA enabled, right? CSI standards 1.1. Let's get MFA enabled for them. So you've got a quick view, and you can drill down again by divisions, by users. You can see on the right-hand side, this is all your applications you're using. This is not just Microsoft applications. This will tell you if you're using ServiceNow, whether you're using Bing or Box. Maybe if you're moving everybody onto OneDrive, why have we still got 63 people using Box? And you can click on them and just see who it is, who those users are, go and have a chat to them. From a security point of view, you can monitor on any of these things. You can set alerts. You can say, send me an alert when somebody uses Box, and the application will send you an alert, or send me an alert every day of inactive users. So we have a whole alert engine around this, and we bring all of the risks in Office 365 and Azure AD. There's a lot of screens that you go to go and find risk events, alert events, that type of thing. We bring them into one dash for you. We also show you in that dash what the service outages are at the moment, and we show you the history over the last however long you've had the tool running. So you can go back and see how many Teams issues have there been over the last 12 months. So last but not least is C-level. So how do they benefit from all of this? And we've built a really nice capability on the C-level side. So number one, really pretty reports, but really effective reports around whether it might be, and this is just that the dashboard, the menu where they go in, consumption, i.e. what's actually been assigned across your divisions, teams, that kind of thing. Probably more interesting is adoption, what's actually being used, right? And there's a screen, the next screen, that'll show you that, number of active OneDrive files, number of active Teams instant messages, number of active emails, who's been sending the most emails, not who. This is more about roll up, right? We don't want to get into the GDPR everywhere, but it gives you all that roll up analytics. How many countries do you operate in? What's your investment? Again, you can do this by any of your automated tags you've created. You might want to see any of these stats by country, by location, by cost code, by division, by department, by function. You can go and see mobile summaries, device summaries, what subscriptions you've got, just operational summary, i.e. these views on seeing how your operations costs are that I showed you in the finance spreadsheet, in this finance screens. And here's just that example of drill down. And where we can, we also put some stats in here. So Radicati is actually, this is the only research really that's available out there, is number of emails sent and received on average by a user. As much research as we've been able to find, we put into the tool as well. So somebody might say, well, why do I care what my adoption is in Teams? Why do I care? Well, it's because 80% of millennials say workplace technology influences their decision to join a company. And a little bit further down is where these references come from, very solid, reliable research companies. Would you, 42% would change employers if not provided with technology that meets their needs. That's why we care. Right, around collaboration. And so this really helps drive that message home and how to improve it. The top section just sort of shows you how different tools, Skype for Business, Teams, etc., are being adopted on mobile. And maybe this might say, well, actually, you know what, as a company, it looks like people are really moving on to mobiles. Maybe we need to start buying mobiles for everyone, whatever the decisions might be. So that gives you a really high-level introduction to the tooling across Azure and Office 365. There's a lot of depth in there. There is an on-prem piece as well, where you will see all your on-prem AD and scanned objects. So it could be PCs, software, servers, different licenses, etc. You can bring that into SLIM as well, put costs against it for internal allocations, and you'd really have complete visibility. We're charging you, 7,000 a month for support on users. Or why? I don't believe that's right. Well, here's your list of users. Here's the PCs they got. This is the software on them. Well, what about the rest? Well, that's the Office 365 licenses. And what's this for? No, that's for the Azure cost. They are using a marketing platform in that division. So that's a high-level overview of the tool. And so maybe if I can just summarize that for you. So Identity Experts, powered by Surveil. we can bring the schism to an end for you. I know we've presented, for example, to a large company, 50,000 plus users. It's a market research company. Their words to us after we'd shown them what we'd shown them was, do you realize you are showing us metadata about our company that we have never ever seen before? And that was just wonderful feedback, and they can do a lot with that. So we can do your total cost management across Azure, Office 365 and on-prem in second quarter. All your costs presented in the way your budgets are done, per user, per division, per system. And you may not just for presenting, just to compare, and maybe you want to do those costs equate in any way to Salesforce and sales that are coming in. Automated single view of identity management, and this area will grow a lot. We're bringing in dashboards to show you, joiners, leavers, and what job titles are generally happening in joiners, leavers. What are the time frames that people stay in the company depending on job titles? That kind of data we have available. We'll bring more and more analytics into that space. Again, around joiners, leavers, license management, Office 365 is so complex, and the end goal for this product set is, Microsoft and everybody's pushing it onto automated digital platforms, whether it's the new MCA or whether it's CSP. If we can already tell you who your joiners, leavers are, we can tell you who your inactive users are, and you get your help desk to go and remove those licenses, why don't we just automate it? Right, so that's absolutely the strategic direction. Let this become your automated licensing engine. And you should be saving costs every single day, not once every year or 2 years when you decide to clean up. Near real-time optimization for Azure. We bring costs in EA together with resources that you're using on the ground. And when people see costs in Azure based on sales department or anything like that, it's a very different view to just presenting them with costs, because now they can do something about it. Why is it in marketing that my development costs are the same as my production costs? Well, that's because you said you wanted all these. Yeah, but that's before you told me what it cost. Now, I assumed you're just using little PCs for that. Well, no, you want to do proper stress testing, so we're using real big servers for that. Let's go and see what we can do about these costs. And that's real life experience. The customers we've brought on, it completely changes the behaviors of how they do cost. And very quickly, they're allocating that responsibility out to various people and not just one person sitting in IT. The end user licensing AI engine, and I say that's really exciting for us. There's a lot of capability in that tool already. We can already show you how your utilizations of E3, M3s, Windows Defender, ATP, etc. is there, and that will continue to grow into being a fully automated engine. The metadata I've spoken about, and any of this information you clean up, just write it back to Azure. If you want to use the tag still in Azure, if you want to have your AD cleaned up, come and clean it up in the tool. Do set up all your rules. Do you like it? You can go and do some reviews, and when you're eventually happy, write it back to AD. So it's a really powerful way for you to clean all that up, and then as important, just to give people the single pane of glass around security, and just making sure all the events are being seen to, making sure your MFA is in place, making sure different administrators have the right levels of access. So we don't have joiners, leavers, or administrators. People that have left the company and they still have, we see this in every single company. Thank you very much. That is the overview. So I'll take you on to questions, and I think Shelley, you're going to be handling that for us.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Harold. We have there's one particular question that has come through. I'll read it out to you, Harold, and then you can respond. So before removing licenses against disabled users, we would need to ensure compliance controls are enabled, such as e-discovery, etc. There could be a whole bunch of compliance reasons why this would be a sensible and legitimate use case. Does your tool highlight risk when removing licenses against users and the associated impact, etc.?
Great question. A really good question, actually. Yes. So within the license queue, so if you look at an E5 or an M5, you've got advanced e-discovery in there as an example. A lot of those SKUs, and again, I'm not just talking about the SharePoint teams, just Power BI Pro, for example, our AI engine will identify who's actually using it. So when you remove that license, you can see who's using those SKUs. There are a few SKUs, and actually advanced e-discovery is a great example, where users may not use it, but you need it as a company for legal reasons, right? So as a company, you have decided to use advanced e-discovery so you can set cases against it, etc. We actually, at the setup of the tool, we have some self-attestation questions you answer. So are you using advanced e-discovery? And then if you answer yes to that question, we know we need to stick that across the company, depending on what it is. So across the company. So now when you report for joiners, leavers, and licenses, it'll absolutely show you that you cannot reduce from an E5 to an E3 because you are using advanced e-discovery. Or if you are going to downgrade to an E3, this part here is green, it's being used, right? The advanced e-discovery, although the users may not be using it. So we do in different ways, but we get to the same result. We absolutely show you that.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Harold. We are just about out of time. So if you've sent any other questions through or to info@IdentityExperts, we will get back to you directly. We've had a few people ask if we are recording this session, which we are, so we can share that with you afterwards. I believe someone said they missed, internet dropped out, so they missed some of it. So absolutely, we can share the recording with you. So yeah, that's about all we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us today, and please do get in touch with either us if you have any more questions or if you'd like to learn more about ITEXACT Surveil. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.